Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to be doing a review of IEW Structure and Style Year 2, Level A. So this is the second year. My daughter used this last year. She used Year 1 last year. So I will link up above my review of that level, but she just finished last week this level. And I wanted to make this video before I forget all the things we did. So we started this in the summer, and I will link up above kind of how I utilize both IEW and Lightning Literature. Those are part of our language arts combination, but Lightning Literature has a very weak writing component to it, so I subbed this out. And I always start her off in the summer when the schedule is looser. We do year-round schooling. So the schedule is looser. She doesn't have Lightning Literature during the summer. So she starts this off when it's less overwhelming for her and gets into the groove. And then when the school year officially starts in August, she's already, 2 months into IEW, so she's into the routine. So adding in Lightning Literature at that point has never been an issue. So that's why one of the questions I often get is why I do it that way. So I always start her off with IEW during the summer because it's lighter and it's easier for her to get going with it, that when the school year starts, it's easier to add more things in. Another question I often get is, why don't I continue? So we are in December, and she finished this. Now this was, I believe, 24 weeks. And again, we started in the summer, that's why we're done in December. The question is, why don't I continue the next year after this? Well, from what I've read on the IEW site, is that you do one level a year, and I don't think she needs to do the next level immediately after she finishes. And that one of the reasons why is IEW repeats a lot of the instruction. A lot of the units are repeated, and in further years they do go more into depth. They do add upon what they've already learned, but a lot of it is things that they've learned and adding to it. So you can see if you started it right away again, it would be like going back to the beginning of this and adding more. I can see why that would be frustrating to kids. So another reason why we wait and have that gap is because she doesn't need to be doing multiple levels in 1 year. It's fine. And then what we do when she's doing Lightning Literature, so when she finishes this, we will take the writing component of Lightning Literature, the compositional work, and apply what she has learned in here to fill in the gaps of what Lightning Literature, it doesn't have any structure to it. It doesn't really have any direction, even in the teacher guide, of how to write things. It just kind of has more a writing prompt. Like if you're reading about this, it does relate it to the book you're reading, but it doesn't give you really an outline structure of how to do it. So she will take, from here on out, every week she'll be doing the compositional work in Lightning Literature using the things she learned from IEW, and it makes her writing a lot easier. The Lightning Literature, they usually space a paper out, over 2 weeks. By the end of this, she could write a 5-paragraph, so page-and-a-half paper in 20 minutes. So when we shift into Lightning Literature, it's kind of like downshifting for her. It's very easy, and she gets to practice some of the things she learned in that. So to answer those questions right away, but overall, what did I think about Year 2 Level A? I thought it was really good. Again, very similar to, I'm going to put this down because it's really heavy, similar to my thoughts on the previous video. Now, I always think they're somewhere between week 6 and week 8. I always question, why did I buy this? Was it worth it? Because IEW is a pricier curriculum. Absolutely. I have a budget. I will link up above my homeschool budget. I don't have all this money to spend, and I have a finite budget that I have to work with, and I have 3 kids. I have a 10, almost 11-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, and I have an almost 4-year-old. So I have to make that money count. That's why I think it's important to talk about, is it worth that expense? So for me, again, this is just my opinion and my experience. This does not mean you have to go out and buy it, because it is a lot of money. They do have a free trial, and that's something I tried when we first tried IEW, is that free trial. It gives you a few weeks to try, and the Fix It Grammar to try if that's what you want to do. To answer another question, I do not use the Fix It Grammar component of that. We have Lightning Literature and a little bit of Michael Clay Thompson sprinkled in there. I don't feel the need for Fix It Grammar. add to this, we just do the writing component. So, like I said, between week 6 and week 8, I always question, what is it worth it? And it is. The first year I did it, it was, my daughter started getting frustrated, it bounced up a level in hardness. We kept at it and it worked out really well. Same here, week 6, or somewhere between week 6 and 8, I was like, why is it so repetitive? She knows all this stuff. And then I realized that it's building upon a lot of what she was doing was reviewing from the previous level. But again, she'd been practicing this with lightning literature for, however many months there was that gap between the next school year. So she was like, I got this, Mom, and was doing it really quick. So after that, after week 8, I believe, I started to see that it's building upon and adding more. I feel like the first level was I always forget how they label it. What she did last year was really building upon how to write the structure of a 5-paragraph. That was the entire point of that level. This one is starting off with being able to do that skill, but adding more. So really looking at those paragraphs and the words we're choosing and the specific structure of it, and dialect and dialogue and different things like that. So it got more detailed into it. And one thing I really enjoyed, that she actually really enjoyed too, my almost 11-year-old, is that it gave her a chance to write more of what she wanted to write about. I know some people talk about how IEW, the downside to it is that it doesn't produce a writer's voice. A lot of it is learning through doing. So you're seeing other people's work, a lot of what they are doing, but you're learning the structure of a really well-written paragraph. You're learning how to scaffold those things together. And I think when you know that, where you're able to see kind of like the equation in math, how an equation works, you can just plug in the numbers and then you get your answer. The same thing works with IEW. If you know the structure, if you know how things are organized and where to put like your opening sentence, where your prepositional phrases should be, things like that. When you know where to plug your information in, it makes it so much easier to compose your writing because there's a set structure. Now that being said, my oldest is a structured child. She loves boundaries, she loves checklists, she's that kid. So I can see where that wouldn't work for everybody if your kid's more of a outside of the box kind of person. But my daughter, it really gave her that structure and outline and scaffolding that she needed in order to take her own ideas and be able to transfer them into not only paragraphs, but well-written papers. So one thing she's really enjoyed is there were many opportunities in this year for her to write, to use her own voice, that she was able to exercise that skill using the scaffolding that she had learned in previous years to be able to write paper. So one of the assignments she did was they looked at different versions of the gingerbread man story and they kind of retold it in their own words. So she was able to take the information, again, looking at multiple resources. I think there was 3 stories. They pulled information from them, was able to retell a story, be able to insert where they got the information from, which I think is really important, citing your resources, things like that. But she was able to take that and create her own thing. There's also an opportunity where it was just 3 pictures and she had to tell a story using those pictures. And again, the outline models in your binder are always there for you to reference. And these are the things we actually use after we finish IEW when she's writing her papers in lightning literature, or really when she's writing anything. She has these notes to refer back to, which I really like, and how to retell a narrative story, how to summarize a reference, how to summarize multiple reference, how to write from pictures, how to critique somebody's writing. So I think this worked really well, and it's something we continue to use even when we finish the level. But she really enjoyed that she got to use more of her voice this year. And one thing that she did, and I talked about this in another video, that she wrote for fun. She wrote an entire, it was based on the Peter Rabbit, Beatrix Potter. She got a big volume of Beatrix Potter's work from the library at a library book sale, and it had all the illustrations and all the animals, and she's a big animal lover. So she decided to create her own prequel to like Peter Rabbit, but Peter Rabbit's mother and father before Peter Rabbit became Peter Rabbit, and what happened to his father. And it of course took like a dark twisty turn because she's a preteen, and she got to put kind of more of that gothic influence on it, and she made her own illustrations. But in a matter of a few hours, she wrote this really well-written story full of feeling and angst and illustrations, and she even spent like a good hour typing it on the computer. She's a very much a beginning typer, but she took the time because she was impassioned by this project, and because she had the structure of how to write or make a well-written sentence, how to put paragraphs together, how to get her ideas from her head to her paper. That wasn't the hard part. She got to use her creativity and just plug in the information and make a really great story. So that's one of the things that she really did enjoy about it. Now, something she didn't like about this year is in the video lessons, there is a part often where the instructor, Andrew Podois, will read the students' work. So it's in a classroom setting, it's filmed in a classroom setting, and I do like that. I do like that he asks questions to the kids, and it does feel like better than just staring at a screen and have someone talk at you. So I do like that aspect of it, but she was kind of annoyed after a while about, there's a section where he reads the kids' work. So I think it's good to have examples of your peers' work, and I like that as a parent, but my daughter found it kind of boring because she didn't want to always hear 3 different versions of the assignment she did. She's like, okay, I did my voice, I did my interpretation, let's move on, because sometimes it'd be like, 15 minutes of him reading other people's stories. So that is one thing she would often fast forward if he would read other kids' stories or whatever their assignment was. She was like, okay, can we get to the actual learning part of this? So that's one thing she wasn't a really big fan of. One thing I really liked, obviously, is it was very hands-off for me. And there's a couple of reasons I like that. One, I have multiple kids I'm juggling, and it can be a lot. So when she goes off and does her IEW, it's completely independent. She knows how to load the videos, she knows the assignment. The only thing I have to do is edit her work. So when she's finished, she puts the paper on my desk, I do corrections to it, I look at punctuation. There's a checklist that's always included, such as this one. These are the things that they have to have. And this is towards the end. This is week 22. So the structure, so they have to have their name and date, which I honestly think is a really important thing. I think as homeschoolers, they don't always remember to put their names on their paper. And when you get in an environment outside of homeschooling, you're going to have to put your name and date on a paper, especially if it's something you're handing in. So I like that that's actually included on there. It has to be double spaced, and that just makes it easier to edit it. And this is everything that each paragraph needs. It needs an ly adverb, a who which clause, a strong verb, a quality adjective. It needs sentence opener, prepositional, ly adverb. Again, these are all things she's familiar with. These are second nature. She can do it like nothing else. And I think that's one of the things great about IEW is it makes it so habitual that they don't have to think about it. I can see how this list would be overwhelming, and some people looking at it would be like, oh my God, that's a lot to ask for a 5th grader. But at the same point, if they've done it so much and it's structured in a way where they know what to do, it's not overwhelming. It's something they don't have to think about. And that's the point my daughter's reached, is she doesn't have to think about the list. It's already ingrained in there, and I think that's really going to help her as she gets older, especially in high school and beyond, and she's writing really long, lengthy papers. She's not going to be overwhelmed by it because she's going to have that structure in place already. So obviously I like IEW for the hands-off component of me. I can just be the one that corrects things. But another part of that is I wasn't really taught how to write well. So I had a public school education. That's not to knock all public schools, but my personal education, when it came to writing, was very minimal. I learned, the basic 5-paragraph intro, 3 topics, conclusion, and that's it. But I never really learned to develop past that. And one of the things I actually regret as an adult, and I didn't realize I didn't write well, honestly, until I entered college and I saw what my peers were capable of and how below par I was on that. And it's something I want better for my daughter, especially because she is someone who really enjoys poetry and writing feelings and writing things down is important to her. I want to make sure she has this structure, that's easy for her, that she doesn't have to stumble on how to make a sentence or a paragraph, that the most effort she's putting towards it is getting that voice out of her head, the feelings out of her, the things she wants to say. She doesn't have to worry about the structure of it. She can just worry about the story or whatever she's writing. And that's what's important. It's not necessarily, is that comma in the right place? But I wanted to convey to my readers what I conveyed. And that's really been wonderful that she's had that. And I've seen that it's easier for her to actually write with that. But it also fills that need for me that I know she's going to be entering high school and college if she so chooses, prepared. Well, a lot more prepared than I ever was to write these more in-depth papers. And I also like that it's asking her to write about things she necessarily wouldn't write about. So one of them was about recipes. They looked at different recipes from around the world and did a report on that. And was it kind of boring talking about meatloaf or like squirrel pie or bird pie, whatever it was? It was some weird recipes. Was it kind of boring talking about that? Yeah, but guess what? In life, you're going to write about some boring things. Hello, high school and college. You're going to be given assignments that you don't think it's so awesome. I know a lot of people are keen on changing up the assignment to make it more interesting. But here's the thing about life. Your boss isn't going to change up the assignment or what you're asked to do just to make it more interesting for you. I think giving them some of that mundane, you kind of got to get through some stuff sometimes, and also it gives them a chance to, look or read things that they necessarily wouldn't assume they were interested in. So, was she super interested in writing about meatloaf? No, but she did like learning about recipes, and during Thanksgiving we looked at different types of recipes we were going to make, and she was actually super helpful this year for Thanksgiving in the kitchen. She crossed that line from, yeah, you can help, to, oh, you're helping now, and it's actually helpful. So, yeah, I think having some of that get through the work is really important. There's not absolutely every single writing assignment they're going to love, and that's okay, because, you're not going to love every single aspect of life, but life still happens. So I do enjoy that she gets a taste of different topics to talk about and write about, and then it's not always so fun, but some she does, like I said, really enjoy a lot of the giving her own voice, and she feels very confident, and that's the key. She feels confident in that writing voice. She's not, like I said, worried about the structure of it. It's all habitual, second nature to her. She can just say what she wants to say, and she has the means to do it. So that brings to the question, do I think it's worth the price? And the answer is, for me, it is. And again, I will purchase the next level after this for the summer as well. And again, some of that is because I want to ensure that she has those writing skills that I so very lack. Some of it is compensating for my own fail in that area, as you would say. And if someone can see that as negative or positive, however you want to interpret it. But she has the skill set, and she definitely writes a lot better than I would say a lot of high schoolers I met. So it's filling that need. It's hands off for me. Everything's included. I buy the forever streaming so I can access this information for future children. And it is possible to reuse this binder. Sometimes I'll make copies if there's something she fills out, but most of the time she's gotten to the point where she can do the assignment in 3 days. She usually spends the first day watching the videos. Second and third day she writes whatever the assignment is. Thursday she'll hand it in for me for corrections. Friday hand it back and she make corrections. I do not make her rewrite the papers. I know a lot of that has a rough and a final draft. I think that's a lot of writing, especially since some of her papers get longer, like 2 pages, front, back, and another page type situation. I think that's a bit much. So I just have her manually correct her writing. That's why it's double spaced. She'll just go through and make the corrections I make. I don't make her do the rough draft and then rewrite the entire thing, because again, she's a child that she does enjoy writing, but she doesn't like the physical act of writing, and we've had to work on some sloppy penmanship and rushing, especially when all that information is just pouring out of you. You kind of get a little rushed when you're handwriting. It's hard to read. So that's something we had to work on, but I think it is possible to take IEW and the structure it is and tweak it to what you need it. So like I said, I don't make her do the rough and final draft. I've tweaked it in that way. I plan on keeping this for my other 2 kids. Will it fit both of them? I don't know. I'm really hoping, since I paid forever streaming, it will at least work for one other child. We'll see how it works. I'll of course try it when they get to that age or when I think they're ready for it. But I can reuse the stuff in this binder. I have it forever streaming. So is it upfront large cost? Yes. But is it something I can pass down to my other kids? Absolutely. So that to me makes it a cost savings in the long run. Also, I think when you look at IEW, if you are really crunched for money, I think it would be easy to do one level and just build upon that. Like I said, it builds upon what it's taught in previous years. So it's going over a lot of the same writing instruction, but building on that. So you could easily pick out a level and build upon that and not have to buy year 2. Was there a huge difference between year 1 and year 2? No, I would say year 2 gives more of the writing voice and a lot more practice. Like I said, they're coming out of the gate writing that 5-paragraph essay. And it's not overwhelming or frustrating. So you can really take one level and build upon it. And I think that would be okay as well. If you don't want to shell out the money every single year, I think it would be a good introduction to writing and give you those basic foundational things that you as the educator could add on to and not have to buy multiple levels. But to me, the price has worked. Yes, it's probably, I'd have to look back, but I'm pretty sure it's the most expensive curriculum I've purchased. And I'm really glad it's worked out so well for my oldest. I don't regret spending the money on either level. Like I said, always between week 6 and 8, I'm like, ooh, did I make a mistake? But it's always worked out well. I'm really proud of her skill level, her confidence with writing. So it's doing exactly what I need it to do for her. Now, that being said, that's my opinion, my child, my family. That doesn't mean it will work for yours. Again, try the free trial out. See how it works. We don't do the fix-it grammar part. We have other areas we get our grammar in, but you can try both of them at the same time. Don't just take one person's thoughts on it and totally decide on it. I never want you guys to watch one of my videos and be like, oh, well, Michelle loved it, so it worked for my family. I've been down that rabbit hole, and it doesn't always work that way. Just because it works for one person doesn't mean it will work for another. So I highly recommend, if it's something you're interested in, trying it out for yourself and your family and really see how you feel about it. Not what social media says, but how you feel about it. But overall, we were very pleased with it this year, and it is something she will continue on the next level with. If you have any specific questions about this level, leave them in the comments below. If not, thank you for watching.